Tad mēs iesākām definēt grādu, lai mēs varētu saprast, kas ir meditācija.
And then knowing if the entire job we're doing as Buddhists is to rid the mind of nonsense and allow the goodness to completely grow. That's it, really. That's what you're doing to get enlightened. That's what you're doing. That's the job of a Buddhist.
Un tas, ko mēs darām, ir atbrīvot prātu no visa nonsense un razām un attīstām visu pozitīvu.
So the first kind of meditation, concentration, is necessary, crucial to really do the job properly.
Pirmais meditācijas veids, koncentrēšanās, ir ārkārtīgi nepieciešama, lai varētu paveikt šo darbu.
Like I'm saying, so the way the Buddhists think of the mind, again, radically different from our view.
Un tas, kā es jau teicu, kā Buddha skatās uz mūsu prātu, ir daudz uztrīgāks nekā mēs to.
So in this single point of concentration technique, which actually Buddha took from the Hindus, this is ancient, way before Buddha.
Un šo vienpunktīgo koncentrēšanos tehniku Buddha aizgūda no hindu, un tā pastāvēja jau sen pirms Buddhas.
And what it enables one to do,
un tas, ko tā ļauj
izdarīt, as I said, is to access a subtler level of our capacity for cognition, which is really a way of saying what the mind is.
Tā ļauj mums nokļūt līdz smalkākiem prāta stāvokļiem.
Far more subtle than we would ever think possible in our materialism.
Daudz smalkākiem nekā mēs varētu iztēloties.
And this was really starkly illustrated in one of these marvelous conferences run by an organization called Mind and Life.
Un to ilustrē arī tās konferences, ko sauc par dzīvo prātu.
We mentioned this.
Un par ko mēs runājam.
You see their website, mindandlife.org.
Bet mēs varam apstīties arī mājaslapu.
30 years now, I think, American organization.
Un tā ir 30 gadus jau esoša amerikāņu
organizing conferences with His Holiness.
Kas organizēja konferences ar
and some of the best Tibetan Buddhist scholars.
Un labākie no tibetiešu praktizētājiem.
People like Alan Wallace.
Iekļaut arī tādu cilvēku kā Alans Wallace.
And then meetings between them and the best brains in the West.
Un te satiekās viņi ar labākajiem no izcilākajiem.
And they've done incredible work.
Izcilākiem rietumu zinātniekiem.
Much of it published,
Un viņi ir paveikuši lielu daudz ir publicēts.
And really many of the findings recently in modern neuroscience are coming as a direct result of experiments on the brains of meditators.
Daudzi atklāja modernajā neirozinātnē nāk tieši no eksperimentiem ar meditētājiem.
Really extraordinary stuff is going on.
Un patiešām interesants lietas.
And it shows the incredible skill of the Dalai Lama, in my opinion.
Un tas parāda arī neticamo dalījumus prasmi.
And I remember, we had a conference in San Francisco in 2008.
San Francisco 2008. gadā.
Mind and its potential.
Prāts un tā potenciāls.
Which is one of the two kinds of conferences that my colleague, our colleague Tony Steele in Sydney runs.
Kas ir viens no konferences veidiem, ko mans kolēģis Tonijs Steele Sidnejā.
He runs our the Lamazopa Sydney Centre.
Viņš vada Lamazopa centru Sidnejā.
The sister centre of this centre.
Kas ir šī centra māsas centrs.
And the sister centre of Liberation Prison Project when I was running it.
Un arī Liberation Prison Project māsas centrs, kad es to vadīju.
Yeah. So we did Tony Steele runs these conferences in Sydney, still does them, he's been doing them for about 6 years.
Un Tony Steels vada šīs konferences Sidnejā, un to darīja.
And it's the way he brings in money to fund the centre.
Un tas veids, kā viņš palīdz to sponsorēt ar naudu.
In the beginning he was, the regular conferences, he charged like $600–800 for a 3-day event of about 50 speakers,
Sākumā tā parastā modelis bija visnotaļ parasts, kad par kaut kādām 3 dienām tiek prasīti 800 vai cik tur dolāri.
Yeah, you get like 2–3,000 people sometimes.
Un tur savācās 2–3 tūkstoši cilvēku.
And there are less people now, but still they're growing nicely.
Šobrīd varbūt cilvēki ir mazāk, bet joprojām tas
Anyway, we ran one in San Francisco.
Tad es atceros šo konferenci San Francisco.
And we lost money, I'm afraid.
Un tajā mēs bijām visos.
But the point is, we had really good speakers, about 50 speakers.
Bet kurā gadījumā tur bija sapulcējušies kādi 50
And what I'm saying is, many of them had worked with His Holiness through this organisation.
Un daudz bija darbojušies ar viņu svētību Dalai Lamu šajā organizācijā.
These are some of the best people, like from Berkeley and Harvard and really top places, doing some cutting-edge work on the nature of reality, nature of mind.
Tiekoties ar cilvēkiem no Harvardas, Berkelijas, kur ir savā lauciņā paši to zinātnieki.
Anyway, one of these conferences in this other conference now, this is the two kinds of the Mind and Life, and there's this one I mentioned also, Mind and Potential, they were run by That was one we did.
Jā.
That's not the mind and life one.
Tad ir šīs divu veidu konferences prāts un dzīve un prāts un tā potenciāls.
Anyway, the Mind and Life conference, one of them at Harvard, I think, in 2003.
Tad 2003. gadā notikusi prāta un dzīves konferences Harvardā.
The topic was the capacity of the human mind to concentrate.
Tas temats bija cilvēka prāta spēja koncentrēties.
And it was, yeah, this is showing the stark difference in the understanding of mind and the capacity it has in the two different world views, the materialist view and the Buddhist view.
Lieliski parādīja tos divus pilnīgi pretējos viedokļus par to, kas ir prāts tibetiešu budismu izpratnē un rietumu zinātnes izpratnē.
So the topic was the capacity of the human mind to concentrate. What is it, you know?
Tātad tēma prāta spēja koncentrēties.
So the materialists, of course, taking their view, basing their findings on the view that the mind is physical and the conceptuality is its function.
Un rietumzinātnē balstījās uz to, ka prāts ir smadzeņu produkts un konceptuālā domāšana ir smadzeņu domāšana.
They came up with their findings, I forget now, something like 6 seconds.
Un viņi bija atklājuši, ka prāts spēja koncentrēties ir
apmēram 6 sekundes.
Un budisti.
Dalai and his lot, his mob, as we call it in Australia.
Dalai Lama un viņa grupa.
Grupa, best you can say grupa. Mob. Mob. Okay, you haven't got one, that's an Australian term. Never mind. They came up with their findings, of course basing their findings on the view that the mind is not physical and that you can go to far more subtle levels of cognition, way more than we even posit as existing in the materialist world.
Un viņi, kā meditētāji, bija pilnīgi citās domās par to, kāda ir prāta spēja koncentrēties. Protams, tā bija daudz ilgāk nekā rietumzinātnē.
Their findings were that you can concentrate for months on end. Many months.
Viņu atklājumi bija tādi, ka cilvēki var koncentrēties mēnešiem ilgi.
This is findings, direct findings, observations, findings, not just fantasies.
Tieši pieredze un tieši novērojumi.
So right there you can see a vast difference, can't you, in the view of even what the mind is.
Un jau te mēs varam redzēt, kāda ir tā liela atšķirība uzskatā par to, kas ir prāts.
So the scientists said they'd look into it.
Un tā kā zinātnieki teica, labi, viņi paraudzīsies tajā.
Well done. So anyway, here we are, this view of the mind.
Tā kā tas ir raudzījums uz prātu.
And so there's a very nice, okay, never mind that. Okay, so this first type of meditation.
Tad šī ir pirmais meditācijas.
Concentration meditation.
Koncentrēšanās meditācija.
You know, when you've accomplished it, you'd look as if you were dead.
Kad mēs esam to sasnieguši pilnīgi meistarību, varētu izskatīties, mēs esam pilnīgi nomiruši.
At these subtler levels of mind, like I said, we don't posit them as existing in the West.
Jo šajos smalkākajos prāta līmeņos, kurus mēs pat nepieļaujam kā esošus materiāliskajā rietumu modelī.
The brain, the physical is not necessary.
Smadzenes vai fiziskā puse pat nav nepieciešama.
This is why you can't just accept this as a given first, can you? It's not possible.
Un tāpēc mēs to nevaram uzskatīt par pašsaprotamu.
You've got to listen to it. Think about the possibility.
Jāpārdomā.
And take it as your working hypothesis.
Un jāpieņem tā kā darba hipotēze.
Otherwise, how can you look into it?
Jo kā citādāk mēs tajā dziļāk paraudzītos.
And so at this level of mind, which is more necessarily, obviously, more subtle,
un šajā prāta līmenī, kas dabiski ir daudz smalkāks,
doesn't depend upon the brain or the sensory, the physical for its functioning.
Kas nav atkarīgs no smadzenēm vai sensorās ievadas, lai tas funkcionētu.
Therefore has a capacity to cognize phenomena that the gross level simply can't.
Šim smalkākajam prāta līmenim ir daudz plašākas iespējas uztvert to, ko rupjais prāts nespēj uztvert.
So this is a mind that's accomplished this is naturally clairvoyant.
Un faktiski tāds prāts smalkākajā līmenī ir dabīgi gaišredzīgs.
You know, we've all heard of people who are like clairvoyant. We hear about this.
Mēs esam visi dzirdējuši par cilvēkiem, kas
But usually we hear it as some kind of random thing, you know, somebody remembers they were a princess 14 lives ago or something.
Tad parasti mēs par to dzirdam tādā kontekstā, ka tas ir kaut kas nejaušs, ka kāds cerās, ka
people have flashes of something.
Vai ka cilvēkiem ir kaut kāda uzplaiksnība.
And that's what we think clairvoyance is.
Un parasti to mēs asociējam ar
some special gift, as we call it.
Kaut kāda īpaša dāvana.
As if someone gave it to you.
Tā ir kā kāds jums to būtu iedevis.
But you know, you don't have courses on how to get it.
Un ka mēs nezinām cēloņus, kā pie tā tikt.
Because no one knows why they're clairvoyant.
Jo neviens nezina, kāpēc viņi ir vēsturiski.
Whereas the Buddha is very simple.
Bet priekš Buddhas tas ir
He says we've had
vienkārši.
clairvoyance in countless lives.
Buddha saka, mums ir bijusi vēsturiski neskatām daudzēs.
We've had incredible realizations in countless lives.
Mums ir bijuši daudz realizācijas.
Powers.
Spējas.
We've only gone so far.
Bet mēs esam tikuši tikai.
We haven't used this subtle, focused mind to see emptiness.
Mēs neesam izmantojuši šo ļoti smalko prāta stāvokli, lai raudzītos uz tukšumu.
So we fall back down to the suffering realms.
Un tāpēc mēs atkrītam ciešanas sfērās.
And then forget all about it.
Un tad par to visu aizmirstam.
So clairvoyance is a natural function of mind. Natural.
Gaišredzība ir dabīga prāta funkcija.
And these techniques have been around thousands of years before the Buddha.
Un šīs tehnikas ir pastāvējušas jau
They're all there, detailed, precise instructions.
Tās ir detalizētas, pretīzas instrukcijas.
So why would you want to do this? Sounds like interesting, isn't it?
Kāpēc lai mēs vēlētos to darīt?
Well, as Buddha often says, you can't begin to benefit sentient beings until you've got clairvoyance.
Buddha faktiski saka, ka jūs nespējat no patiesu labumu jūtošajām būtnēm, ja vien jūs nesat veiksmīgs.
That's reasonable.
Un tas ir saprātīgi.
If you're a doctor, a regular doctor,
ja jūs esat parasts ārsts,
if you can't read the signs in a person's body and everything and interpret their illness, what good is it? You've got to have knowledge that enable you to help them.
Ja jūs nespējat nolasīt visas tās pazīmes, kas ir cilvēku ķermenī, lai uzstādītu diagnozi, tad jūs arī nespējat dot viņam palīdzību.
Well, here we're trying to help sentient beings' minds.
Un te mēs cenšamies palīdzēt jūtošo būtņu prātiem.
Which means you have to see their mind.
Kas nozīmē, ka mums arī ārā.
Because mind is not physical.
Un tā kā prāts nav fizisks.
It's not an object of cognition of the senses.
Tas nav maņu uztveres objekts.
It's an object of cognition of the subtler mind.
Tas ir smalkākā prāta uztveres objekts.
Because the subtler level of mind, which you can access through single point of concentration.
Un smalkākos prāta līmeņus, kurus mēs varam sasniegt vienkāršīgā koncentrēšanās rezultātā.
Necessarily is capable of cognizing phenomena, like I said, that the grosser mind can't cognize.
Tāds prāta līmenis spēj uztvert to līmeni, ko rupjais prāts nevar.
Such as the past,
piemēram,
the future,
nākotni,
minds of others.
Citu
But
prātus.
initially, in the main work you're trying to do,
Bet tajā galvenajā praksē,
you can cognize your own mind.
jūs varat uztvert, saprast.
This is the point first.
Un tā ir tā galvenā jēga.
And you use this subtle cognition.
Un mēs izmantojam šo smalko uztveri,
Fiercely, profoundly disciplined and focused.
kas ir ļoti, ļoti precīzi un
At a
fokusēti.
really refined level.
Ļoti smalkā līmenī.
To then do the real work in the second mode of meditation.
Lai darītu īsto darbu otrajā meditācijas veidā,
Called in Sanskrit Vipassana.
ko sanskritā sauc par
In
vipassana,
Tibetan Laktom.
tibetiešu valodā
In
laktam.
English they call it special insight.
Un angļu valodā to sauc par speciālo ielūkošanos.
So what's this word insight in Latin? Many languages don't have a word and they use these weird, ridiculous words. What's the word in Latin?
Well,
Insight.
Insight, we have two ways of translating
Tell me.
and looking in, or the other way would be like it's an insight or a revelation. That's a kind
I know, you see, they both sound not too bad. Revelations, but we can mystify it a bit, can't we?
Yeah.
We can kind of make it a bit romantic and religious.
Yeah.
Like seeing God or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Okay.
God reveals you.
No, I know, it's really wrong. See, revelation's wrong. Revelation?
There might be
Yeah.
atskārsme, which is different one, which is not.
Atskārsme,
Something is
okay,
okay.
atskārsme.
You
Okay,
can
so yeah,
find-
yeah.
Which one? What's this one?
It's kind of when you contemplate a thing and you then get the
Get it.
result. Yeah.
That's the right
Insight,
word.
actually.
That's the one.
Mhm.
That's the exact,
Okay.
that's the meaning of it.
Yeah.
In other words, you go home and you do your, and okay, I'll tell this example in a minute. That's the real meaning of it.
Mhm.
You kind of get it.
Okay.
That's the perfect, that's the right word.
Jā.
That's the exact word.
Labākais veids, kā
And the same in English.
apzīmēt šo otro meditācijas veidu, ir atskārsmes
That's the
meditācija.
right word. That's the meaning, exact. So Latin's got a good word for it. Many languages have none at all. They use these weird, strange, religious ideas. You know.
Daudzām valodām nav šāda laba precīza vārda, lai to aprakstītu.
So okay, so let's look at how this functions. What's the point of this? What is this process about? How does it get you to where you're going, which is to remove the nonsense and grow the goodness?
Un tad palūkosimies, kā šis process ļauj mums tikt vaļā no visa šī nonsens, kas šobrīd ir mūsu prātā.
So there's many ways to describing these types of meditation.
Ir daudz
The second
veidu,
kind, especially the insight
kā,
side.
ir daudz veidu, kā aprakstīt sevišķu otro meditācijas
So we
veidu.
can see there are these marvelous techniques in Theravada Buddhism that are around a lot these days, called, you know, them all around the mindfulness techniques.
Un mēs zinām, ka Theravādas budismā ir daudz lieliskas tehnikas.
These wonderful techniques coming from Lord Buddha.
Tehnikas, kas nāk no Budas,
Working through the sensations of the body and this, I mean, those types of things.
kad mēs strādājam ar sajūtām ķermenī un tam līdzīgām lietām.
Which aren't taught too much in the Tibetan monasteries.
Tibetiešu klosteros par to daudz nerunā.
Because in the Tibetan monastic environment, they're focusing on the other type of insight meditation, which is insight into the teachings themselves.
Un tibetiešu klosteros vairāk izmanto tieši šo atskāršanas meditāciju par pašām
These
mācībām.
other techniques are brilliant.
Bet arī viss
Many
pārējās
Tibetan Buddhists, you know, use them.
tehnikas un daudz
Alan Wallace, especially,
To
does
izmanto.
incredible stuff.
Arī Alans Wallace
Leads retreats in this.
un vada retrīts par to.
So, but in this context here, the insight. He does retreats in many different countries. Like he's got a place in Thailand. He does long 3-month retreats on teaches on these things.
Alans Wallace vada ilgus 3 mēnešu ilgus retrītus Taizemē un citur.
In Australia, he does them.
Arī Austrālijā.
He states.
Uh,
And he also happens to be a Tibetan Buddhist scholar.
Un viņš arī ir Tibetas
And he also happens to be a physicist.
un arī ir bijis fiziķis.
He's a very good person, Alan.
Viņš ir Alans
Anyway.
labs cilvēks.
So here, the context, the use of these two types of meditation is in getting insight into the meaning, specifically in special insight into emptiness.
Un te šīs divas meditācijas veidi tiek gūti izmantot, lai
But broadly-
atskārstamību par tukšumu.
Broadly, he's attempting to get insight into all of the teachings.
Bet faktiski atskārstamība tiek izmantot par visām mācībām.
One way of saying what you're doing as a Buddhist
Jo viens veids, kā mēs varētu aprakstīt, kas ir budists,
is learning to think like a Buddha. That's all you're trying to do.
ir tas, kurš mācās domāt tā kā Buda.
One approach to it is training yourself in thinking like that.
Viena pieeja ir trenēt sevi domāt tādā veidā.
That's what you're doing when you learn maths.
Un tas ir tas, ko mēs darām arī
We
mācīties
understand this
matemātiku.
process very well. It's what we call learning things.
To procesu mēs labi saprotam, to sauc par
You fill your
mācīšanos.
head with mathematical theories,
Mēs piepildām savu galvu ar matemātikas
tennis
teorijām,
theories,
tenis teorijām,
musical theories,
mūzikas
and
teorijām,
then you keep practicing them
un tad turpinām tās praktizēt,
until you get insight into them.
līdz mēs būsim par tām
It's
atskaitību.
hardly surprising.
Tas,
We call it learning.
tas nebūtu nav pārsteidzoši, mēs to saucam
Look
par
how we
mācīšanos.
mystify when it comes to Buddhism.
Bet līdz tas nonāk pie budismu, mēs to
Even the word
identificējam.
meditation, we lose our common sense.
Un pat runājot par meditāciju, mēs zaudējam savu veselo
You know,
saprātu.
we have all these weird ideas of what we think it is.
Un mums ir dažādas trakas idejas par to, kas tas
To
ir.
relax, get good feelings,
Atslābināšanās, labas izjūtas,
mindful. It's true, we
apzināti.
need mindfulness.
Protams, mums ir
As Lama Zopa likes
nepieciešams.
to point out, and thieves need it as well.
Bet kā mums Zopam patīk norādīt, arī zagļiem ir nepieciešama
Until it's
apzinātība. Tā kā nav par to viena vērts ierosināties.
So if you're trying to get insight into impermanence, karma, compassion, you know, equanimity, what we're getting to, all this emptiness, all this. If you're trying to get insight into it, if you're trying to go from the head to the heart, which is what insight means,
Tad mēs cenšamies gūt atskāršanu par visiem šiem tematiem, par nepastāvību, vienlīdzību, visām šīm lietām.
you've got to have some focus,
Un tad mums ir nepieciešams
mindfulness,
fokus,
concentration.
koncentrēšanās apzināti.
Ideally, the more subtle,
Un
the more powerful your insight.
ideāli, jo smalkāks līmenis, jo spēcīgāk
But you start with
atskāršana.
what you've got.
Bet ir jāsāk ar to līmeni, kurā mēs esam.
You know, so like a classic session would be, a meditation session.
Klasiska meditācijas sesija būtu,
You go sit in your cushion,
mēs apsēžamies uz spilvena,
you do some focusing,
veicam
and you
fokusēšanos,
get the mind to the level of concentration that you've accomplished.
dabūjam prātu fokusētā līmenī,
Then you go to the second mode.
un tad pārstādamies uz
Insight.
otru režīmu, uz
So what
atskāršanu.
would you do here,
Ko mēs šeit darām?
using this approach?
Veicot šo
But
pieeju.
what you're trying to get insight into, let's say, is okay, here is equanimity. No, forget equanimity. Let's say emptiness.
Tā atskāršana, līdz kurai mēs vēlamies, piemēram, nokļūt būtu tukšums.
And this is where we get puzzled.
Un te mēs sākam
How
apgūt,
do I realize emptiness?
kā es varu
How
atskārst
do I
visu
get
tukšums,
insight into emptiness?
kā es varu tajā
You think
ielūkoties.
it's mystical, you know?
Mēs domājam, ka tas ir kaut kas mistisks.
Well, the second kind of meditation in Tibetan, they call it analytical meditation. The method you use to get insight is called analytical meditation.
Tibetieši, lai nonāktu pie atskārstamiem, izmanto analītisko meditāciju.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's a very fancy phrase for the verb to think.
Tas ir vienkārši ļoti sarežģīts termins, lai vienkārši lietas domāšanai.
That's all to think about.
Vienkārši domāt par to.
So okay, you go to school.
Vienmēr sakot, jūs dodaties uz skolu.
And someone tells you that 1 and 1 is 2.
Kāds jums saka, 1 + 1 ir 2.
And then your teacher says, go home, Robina, and do your concentration meditation. Go to the second mode of meditation and get some insight into this, please. That's what she's really saying to you.
Un tad skolotāji jums saka, Robina, ej uz mājām, koncentrējies, un tad gūsti atskārsmi, kad 1 + 1 ir 2.
What she says is go and do your homework.
Vienmēr sakot, viņa saka, ej un izdara savu
So if you're a
māju.
good little girl or boy,
Ja jūs esat maza jauka meitene vai zēns,
and you're a fortunate one,
un jums
you'll have your own little room. your own
jums ir
little
paveicies, jums ir savs
You know, it's
galds.
not like in my house when we were children.
Ne tā kā manā mājā, kad mēs
Said my mother
bijām.
had 8 babies,
Manai mammai bija 8 bērni,
and she ran out of money and beds.
un viņai gala beigās
So
pietrūka
we
gan
shared
gultu,
beds.
gan naudas, tātad mēs dalījām gultas.
Total chaos.
Bija
You know,
totāls
mountains
haoss,
of clothes up to there.
kalniem drēbju,
Chaos everywhere. Chaos, physical and internal and external.
hauss gan iekšā, gan ārā.
A desk, never heard of such a thing.
Mēs pat nebijām dzirdējuši par tādu lietu kā galds.
Your own pencil, forget it.
Pašam savus zīmols
So
sāk.
forget homework.
Tad aizmirst mājām.
I know when I was like 14, I was 14. Yeah, 14.
Es atceros, kad man bija 14 gadi.
And when I was 13, I was on my knees in the kitchen begging my mother to let me be a nun, like Saint Teresa of Lisieux.
Kad man bija 13 gadi, es atceros, kad es biju uz ceļiem mātes priekšā un lūdzos, lai viņi ļauj man kļūt par mūķiem.
Completely in love with God
Bija pilnīgi
And Our Lady.
iesaistījies Dievā
and the saints,
un svētījos,
and I wanted to be a nun.
un es vēlējos būt
And
mūķiem.
she said no, of course.
Bet viņi teica, protams, nē.
So I cried.
Tad es
And then
raudāju.
when I became a Buddhist nun 20 years later, she cried.
Un kad es kļuvu budistu mūķi 20 gadus vēlāk, viņi raudāja.
Anyway, whatever. So then I was, by the time I got to, I think 14, I think I remember hearing about Billie Holiday.
Un kad man bija apmēram 14 gadu, es dzirdēju par Billie Holiday.
At one of our school fairs, one of the girls' fathers ran one of the radio stations and he was selling off all his old records.
Un vienam no manas skolas draudzenēm bija tēvs, kurš pārdeva vecos ierakstus.
And I remember thinking, I wonder who hears Billie Holiday. It was a little record for 6 cents or something.
Un es domāju, kas
5 cents.
klausās tos ierakstus par Billie Holiday uz 5 centiem.
So anyway, slowly my religious aspirations kind of became sort of social. Started listening to black music and that kind of thing.
Un tad pakāpeniski manas reliģiskās tieksmes kļuva vairāk sociālas, es sāku
And then I started getting naughty.
Tad es sāku
It was the time of Elvis.
Ne ķītra.
I was 14.
Un es sāku klausīties
It was in
Elvis.
1950, what am I 44? 1958. I was 14.
1958. gadā man
Can
bija
you all
14
decide
gadi.
with that, boys?
Un es kļuvu
I
sajūsmā.
steal my mother's high heels
Es nozagu mātei augstpējušu kurpes
and I steal her lipstick.
un nozagu viņas lūgu
And I
krāsu.
remember buying these cheap little earrings, pink fluorescent earrings at Woolworths.
Es atceros, kad es nopērku šos lētos
Wearing
fluorescējušos
this full
auskars,
skirt
nesāju šos
and
svārtiņus
this belt with studs on it.
un jostu ar
Never mind.
Sure,
Just, when I'd walk up and down Robina Road, trying to seduce Tony Kim Cotter, the son of the local greengrocer.
Un tad es centos staigājot sakārnāt vienu no puišiem.
And he was 16.
Un viņam bija 16 gadi.
And my mother freaked out completely.
Un māte pilnīgi juka no tā prātā.
And she sent me to boarding school.
Un viņu aizsūtīja man uz
And it was the same school, the Catholic nuns, but she made me go live there.
Tā bija arī katoļu muļķeņu skola, bet viņi man aizsūtīja, lai es tur dzīvoju.
So why am I telling you all this? Where did all this come from? Concentration, meditation, homework, desk, no desk, chaos. Okay. Okay. So at school, I was in heaven.
Tad,
Incidentally,
skolā es biju
I had my own bed.
jā, kā paradīzē, jo man bija pašai savu gulti.
We lived in a dormitory.
Mēs dzīvojam
And we
kopmītnēs.
had a little kind of alcove with a curtain.
Mums bija pašam sava nodalījums
I couldn't believe it. I was in bliss.
ar aizskaņiem,
And I had
kas bija
discipline.
svētām. Man bija disciplīna.
I was so happy to be there.
Un es biju tik laimīgi tur
And
būt.
I was sort of in love with God again.
Un es atkal iemīlējos Dievā.
I still like boys. It was very curious. They seem to both go together. I can't work it out, but they did.
Un tajā pašā laikā man patika arī zēni, es nezinu, kā tas sagāja kopā.
I remember I had a sailor boyfriend.
Es atceros, ka man bija draugs
drive me back to school on Sunday afternoons in his funny little car.
kurš svētdienas pēcpusdienās veda man apkārt uz
But I still
skolu ar savu
haven't
mazo
gone. Is there any,
mašīnu.
I'm trying to work it out actually.
Un tad es
Anyway, I go to mass 7 mornings a week.
Un tad es devos uz mēsu
I knew all the mass in Latin.
katru dienu, un mēs bija latīņu valodā.
And I was so jealous of the boys who could be the older boys, you know.
Un es biju tik reizsirdīgi uz vecākiem puišiem.
Anyway, I used to
Kas
study.
bija autozēni.
Yeah. So the point is I studied every day.
Un katru dienu es mācījos.
Anyway, so there you go, my desk and everything. Do my homework, okay?
Un
Do my homework.
katru dienu.
Okay, so back to 2 modes of meditation.
Tad atkal pie viena.
Miss Holton, she was mostly the nuns taught, but I had Miss Holton when I was 5.
Un Miss Holton, kas bija viena no skolotājām.
And she taught me that 1 + 1 is 2.
Viņa iemācīja, ka 1 + 1 ir 2.
Now she didn't initially ask me to memorize it. That's helpful, isn't it, to memorize your 10 times tables.
Sākumā viņa neprasīja, lai es to iedomēju no galvas, un tas īstenībā ir labi.
But she wanted me to, this is the point, she didn't want me to just believe it. Please hear this, it's a crucial point.
Viņa nevēlējās, lai es tam tikai ticu, un to ir svarīgi sadzirdēt.
That's how we think of religion.
Un tas ir tas, kā mēs parasti domājam par reliģiju.
You're not supposed to go and analyze it.
Mums nav jāanalizē parasti reliģija.
You have faith in it.
Mums ir jātic.
So, but Miss Holton with the maths, she didn't want me to do that.
Bet Miss Holton nevēlējās,
She wanted me to go home and do these 2 modes of meditation.
Viņa vēlējās, lai es dodos uz māju šos 2
The first one only as a preparation in order to the second one, which is the real work.
Un pirmais ir tikai sagatavošanās tam otriem, kas ir īstais darbs.
But to do the proper logic, the proper, analytical meditation to trigger an insight, you need to have concentration.
Bet, lai veiktu labu analītisko meditāciju, kuras galvenajā mēs nonākam, bija atskārsmes vai izpratnes.
So this is where we can really have misconceptions about the first type of meditation.
Un tieši tāpēc te bieži neizpratni par koncentrēšanās.
Because if you really did get single-pointed concentration,
jo, ja mēs patiešām tiktu pie vienpunktīgas
that's what
koncentrēšanās,
the Hindus call samadhi.
tas ir tas, ko hindu sauc par
And
samādhi.
because your mind's real subtle,
Un, protams, ja jūs
super blissful,
ļoti smalks, tad ir
super clear,
super skaidrs,
clairvoyant,
gaišredzīgs.
they made the mistake of thinking that's the end result.
Viņi pieļauj to kļūdu, domājot, ka tas ir gala rezultāts.
Unless you use the point of all this from the Buddha.
Bet tas būtisks skatījums
It
ir,
has all these side benefits,
ka tam ir visi šie blakus labumi,
but they're not the point.
bet tas nav tas.
The point is you've got this super focused mind now.
Tas galvenais ir, ka jums ir šis koncentrētais
And the
prāts,
only reason for it
un galvenais, kāpēc
is
tas
to
būtu
use it
vajadzīgs,
as a second mode
ir, lai to varētu izmantot otrajā režīmā,
to trigger insight.
lai varētu nonākt pie izpratnes vai
Because to
atkārtošanas.
cut through the ancient eons of layers of junk in the mind,
Jo, lai tiktu cauri visiem tiem atkritumiem, kas ir uzkrāti
You need two
mūžībā
things.
ilgi, ir nepieciešams 2 lietas.
powerful focus, like a
Ļoti
laser,
spēcīgs, precīzs fokus kā
but
lāzers,
you've got to have the information.
bet ir jābūt arī
Because when you
informācijai.
go to the second mode,
Jo, kad mēs dodamies pie otrā
let's say to
režīma
get insight into emptiness,
un gūstam izpratni par tukšumu,
you use the technique called analytical meditation,
mēs izmantojam tehniku, ko sauc par analītisko meditāciju,
which means think it through.
kas nozīmē domāt to visu
So
cauri.
I go home,
Tad es dodos uz
get my bit
māju,
of focus,
dabūju savu
then
fokusu,
I go to the second mode,
pārstātos
and
otrajā
I'm going to
režīmā,
do my analytical meditation on 1 and 1 is 2.
un tad veikšu savu analītisko meditāciju, kā 1 + 1 ir 2.
So often we think of insight meditation, you kind of like to think, oh well, 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 1 is 2, hoping a vision will come, 1 and 1 is 2, hoping a penny will drop, hoping the insight will kind of come like a revelation, like a vision. That's how people think about meditation.
Tad bieži vien mums ir tāda izpratne, tā doma, ka atkāršanas meditācijā, ka mēs skaitīsim 1 + 1 ir 2, 1 + 1 ir 2, un tad kā iekritīs tur cents, un mēs parādīsies spuldzīti, un mēs sapratīsim.
No, what do you do instead?
Nē, tāds nav.
You get the information you've heard,
Tā vietā, to informāciju, ko mēs esam iepriekš
and that means you've got to know all your facts, all clear.
tas nozīmē, ka mums ir
You've got to
skaidrs
know the
fakti.
meaning of 1,
Mēs zinām, kas
the
ir
meaning
1,
of plus,
mēs zinām, kas ir
the meaning of
plusība,
2,
mēs zinām, kas
the
ir
meaning
2,
of equals.
mēs zinām,
You've got to get your head around it, don't you? You've got to conceptually understand it first, theoretically.
Mums ir konceptuāli, teorētiski, tas viss jāizprot,
You've got
pēc
to
tam
be accurate.
jābūt precīziem.
Then you work it out.
Un
You
tā
think it
mēs
through.
izdomājam visu,
Maybe you use your blocks.
varbūt izmantojam
Maybe you use your
līdzekļus,
pencil.
varbūt izmantojam
You've got
zīmolu.
to squeeze your brain.
Mums ir jāpieklausa smadzenes.
Then what happens?
Un tad, kas notiek,
Oh, mummy, I get it.
mamīt man pieleca.
That's an insight.
Tā ir
So
atkāršana.
insight is the result of the analytical.
Atkāršana ir analīzes rezultāts.
And look at everything you've learned in this earth.
Un varam paraudzīties uz visu, ko mēs esam iemācījušies uz šīs zemes.
That's how you learned it.
Tas ir tas,
So
kā
why do
mēs
you
esam
think
iemācījušies.
Buddhism is different?
Kāpēc mēs domājam, ka budisms ir kaut kas
Because we
savādāk?
mystify it absurdly.
Jo mēs to absolūti
We
mistificējam.
hear all these words about realizations.
Mēs dzirdam šos
Beyond
vārdus,